Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of Guitar Talk. This is a show where we talk about all sorts of music. It's guitar focused. We love to talk about vintage equipment. We love the new gear too. We're just gearheads. We love amps, guitars, effects, you name it. And if you've got an interesting instrument and you'd like to share it with the viewers, reach out to me. Maybe we can get you on the show and we can talk about it a little bit. I'm very excited about today's guest. As you all know out there, I'm a big fan of the blues and traditional American music. And the people that are really out there on the road now touring and making a living, I have to salute them because it's getting hotter and hotter out there all the time to get this done with fewer and fewer venues. And today's guest is here from Chicago, Illinois. And if you've ever been to Chicago, you would know that there's no shortage of truly astounding guitar players. You'll find them in all the bars, all the clubs. I know the last time I was out there, I was at a little club, and it's simply called Blues. And we wandered in, and Little Ed was playing. Across the street, Carl Weatherby was playing at Kingston Mines. So it's unbelievable, the talent that's out there. And so we're real lucky to have this guy here in New England for a little visit. He's touring. And today's guest, ladies and gentlemen, is Joe Moss.
Hey, Mike.
Welcome aboard, Joe.
Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, you made a long ride, you know. Now, did you play last night?
Actually, I was off last night.
Now you're playing tonight.
Tonight, yeah.
Tell the folks where you're going to be playing.
We're going to be at Pub on Park in Cranston, Rhode Island, and I'll be playing with the new Rhythm and Blues Quartet.
Yeah, Tommy Ferraros.
And Tom Ferraro.
Yeah, a good friend of the show.
Yeah, a good friend of mine.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He does a lot to promote people that are out there like yourself touring and traveling around the country. He brought in, Anson Funderburg in a while back with Mark Hummel to our Thursday night show. And, you know, like I said, we're going to talk about getting you on there. I was looking at your bio, and you got started with Buddy's Rib Tip Band.
Buddy Scott, yep. Yeah.
How old were you when that happened?
Man, I was young. I was in my 20s.
Nice.
I had, you know, I had been playing since I was a kid. I've had a guitar in my hand since I was like 10.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't really playing when I was 10, but you know, I had one in my hand.
It was in your life, yeah.
Yeah, and after, you know, I was in sports and stuff when I was in, you know, grade school and junior high school and high school, but I was always playing at the same time. And so when it was time to go to college, I bounced around for a couple years at home trying to play in bands and stuff like that. And then one of my friends went out to Berkeley in Boston.
Yep.
And so I went out there. When I came home, I got into some trouble. I had a real bad thing happen to me. I got shot. I was in a traffic altercation. I got into a fight with a guy, and the guy shot me in the arm. When I healed up, I started, you know, thinking, you know, I want to play music. This is what I want to do. I got to stop messing around.
Started reassessing things, yeah.
And I went to Rosa's, which is another great club in Chicago. You were talking about blues on Halstead and Kingston Mines. There's a club called Rosa's, and Rosa's is another, you know, serious big-time club in Chicago. And Buddy Scott was playing there, and he had a jam night there on a Monday night. And I went down there, and I met him, and he goes, do you know where 43rd and Martin Luther King is? There's a club there called the Checkerboard, and that used to be owned by Buddy Guy. And I said, yeah. I said, you know, I'm not sure if I should go down there because it's kind of a dangerous part of Chicago. And at the time, I was like, you know, it's like, I don't know if I should go down there after all the stuff that's happened to me. And I just made the decision I was going to go down there. I went down there, and I got with Buddy, and he had a really great guitar player playing with him, but he was leaving the band.
Oh.
And so when he had saw me at the jam at Rosa's, I think he was trying to bring me in and see the band and stuff and then work me in, and that's what happened. You know, for about 2 months, I would go and see him play, and I'd get up and sit in, and then the guy's name was Grady Applewhite. He was a great guitar player, and he moved down south, and then I started playing with Buddy, and Buddy was kind of like a finishing school for blues guys in Chicago. There's a lot of guys, big name guys that play in Chicago that came through his band.
Wow.
Yeah, and I learned more playing with Buddy than I did at Berkeley. I only went to Berkeley for a year. I learned a lot of stuff about theory and harmony and stuff, which I use more now than I did then.
Right.
And I use it specifically when I'm writing things. But the things that I learned with Buddy were amazing. He was like a friend, a father, and he was a great guitar teacher. But not only that, his brother used to run a band that had a lot of different artists that were, playing on the circuit, coming in from the South into Chicago. They call it the Chitlin circuit. So guys like Buddy Ace and Little Milton and, Tyrone Davis, when those guys were on the road and they'd come back into Chicago, a lot of times they would have Walter Scott's band play. It was the World Band.
Oh, I see.
And then Buddy's son was actually the band leader for Tyrone Davis's band. So between Buddy, Walter Scott, and Hollywood Scott, Buddy's son, they all had a hand in teaching me and bringing me up to speed as far as playing with Buddy's band. And I didn't just learn about blues, because when you're playing to the audiences on the South Side, and we were playing like 6-7 nights a week, we couldn't just play blues. We'd have to play top 40 stuff. We'd have to play soul, R&B things and stuff. And there would be a host of people that would sit in on all of his gigs, because everybody would follow him around. You'd see the same faces every club we played. And at that time, I was only playing on the North Side maybe like 1 or 2 days a week, and the rest of the time I was playing on the South or the West Side. So I was, this stuff really only matters in the sense of the context of which it was in, but it was really literally the only white guy in these clubs half the time. Sometimes there would be European tourists that knew about these clubs. They were like blues people, and they'd come in and they'd be watching us. And sometimes,
the Checkerboard, that's the club Muddy played in where the Rolling Stones came in and
that's right.
Sat in for the night for the gig. Yeah, that place is legendary.
Well, when we would come in, we'd play there on Tuesday nights, and Magic Slim would be there, gathering up his gear from the last night, with like John Primer and
right,
and Nick, his brother, and them guys. They'd be pulling the stuff out, and it was amazing. It was like it was one of the greatest times of my life musically, because I was just, my eyes were like.
You were fortunate to get that kind of mentoring from the guys that were really deep in the circuit,
Junior Wells would be sitting at the bar sometimes, you know what I mean,
That's
watching Buddy play,
yeah.
And it's just amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now I see today, folks, again, this is Guitar Talk, so we love to talk about guitars. Joe's got a Flying V with him, and he's got a Stratocaster with him. Tell us a little about that custom-made Carina Flying V.
Well, I brought that one in on purpose because there's a lot of promo pictures with me with that guitar, and a lot of people ask me about that guitar. That guitar was made by probably, I think he's the best custom builder in the United States. His name is Kurt Wilson. He has a company called Kurt Wilson USA Custom Guitars. And that guitar is made out of Carina, just like the old Flying Vs. Yep. Its body shape is a little thicker than a Gibson V. It's more along the lines of like the Hamer Vs.
Yep.
It's a little thicker. It's loaded with throwback, what are they? I forgot what they are, but they're the Max Vintage pickups, and they have
throwbacks are great. Everybody loves them that uses them.
Yeah, they're amazing. They got the unoriented Alnico 5 magnets in them. And it's an amazing guitar. And I mean, he's made a number of guitars for me. And I have another one that's got a white guard, that's got a little bit slimmer neck that he made. And he doesn't, I mean, he makes his own designs and stuff, but some of the replicas that he's made are just, they're outstanding. I mean, you got to play it, so.
Now tell us a little bit about the Stratocaster you've got with you today.
That Stratocaster is a funny story because there's somebody out there. My brother is Nick Moss, and Nick is he is such an amazing guitar player, such an amazing writer, and he's done so much with his career in music. And every once in a while he has to have somebody like me to like bring him back down to earth. And so I stole that guitar from him. So he knows I have it. And he's like, all right, you could have it, you know, just let me have it back when you know, whenever I need it.
Yep.
He was so nice, he gave me that guitar to use. But that guitar, one of the reasons why it's with me and he's allowing me to use it is because I fell in love with it. I just bonded with it. And it's a parts guitar. It's a Jimmy Vaughn neck. I don't know what that body is. It might be a Japanese body. I don't know if it's, you know, but it seems like it's alder.
Now the Jimmy Vaughn neck is a V profile, correct?
I love that. Yeah, and it's got Don Mayer pickups in it, and
you can't beat those. No,
I just ordered a set for another Strat, but they're the Formvar 50s, and the middle pickup on there is like, it's so good. It's insane. I love that guitar. I love both those guitars, but
I mean, we're really living again in a golden age of guitar making and building. You know, of course, the vintage folks love to have the original models and everything, and it's wonderful if you can afford to find one or if you've got one. Yeah. But today, it's amazing what you can get from the custom shops or these builders. Or like you said, you know, a part Strat can be made to sound mind-boggling with Don Mayer pickups and the stuff that's out there. And I think it's the same with amplification. We've got companies like Victoria, Vintage Sound, and Fuchs, and all these great amp builders. And you can really get the sound of the $200,000 rigs for, you know, 10% of that, you know, or less, much less. And that's a great thing. And you've got a Fender concert amp with you for the show today. Yeah,
I normally, lately what I've been using is I've been using an AC30, and I've been also, again, borrowing something from my brother again. I was borrowing his Music Man 65, and I was trying to ascertain if a Music Man might be the right move.
Is that the one with the 210s in it?
No, it's got two 12s.
Two 12s, so that's like the twin reverb model. Yeah, that's a big boy.
But like I was telling you before the show, I'm looking for one of those, one of the single 12-inch 50-watt amps from Music Man, and I was just trying to figure out, is this going to work for me? And it sounds great, and it's like I may pull the trigger on one of those.
It worked for Johnny Winter.
Yeah, man, that's right. He did use one of those.
He was a Music Man guy from literally the time they came out, and somebody put a Music Man Super on his back line. Yeah. I don't think he ever played again with anything else. He liked two of them, but sometimes one. But that's the guy that turned me onto those amps. When I saw him using them, I was like, whoa, got to try one of those. And that was way back.
When I play at Chan's, there was a guy that used to come there, and unfortunately, I found out that he had passed away between the last time I was here and the time that this last Saturday that I played there. And he's a sweet dude, and he made me a bunch of CDs of old Johnny Winter stuff. And I had opened up for him twice. I opened up for him once in Wisconsin. I opened him once for him in Massachusetts at the Narrows.
Oh, right, in Fall River.
Yeah, in Fall River.
Been there many times.
Both times I didn't get the opportunity to stay to talk to him because we had another gig right after, so we had to race out and go do something else. Both times I didn't get the chance to talk to him, and he passed away. But the guy, his name was Jack at Chan's. He was just a really nice dude, and he used to sit at the table right off where I play on the stage at Chan's, and he always brought me stuff, you know. But he brought me that, and I got to hear for the first time, which I feel ridiculous about, but for the first time I heard Johnny Winter's first record, and I'd always thought he was great, but I never got to hear the whole record, and I was just like floored.
It's unbelievable. I think, especially the Johnny Winter and Live album. Yeah. When you listen to that version of "It's My Own Fault," that's a clinic. Yeah. On how to play a slow blues. I mean, that has got so much feeling, and he takes it in so many directions. It's just unbelievable. Let's play a little something for the audience. We're going to go to a public service announcement, folks. We'll be right back with you. Woo! Yeah,
Thank
man.
you, man.
Sounding great.
So did you.
Let's sit around and chat a little bit for a minute for the folks. We'll be right back.
Help someone who is struggling by supporting the National Alliance on Mental Illness and be a part of the NAMI effect. Hope starts with you.
Welcome back, my friends. You were just listening to Joe Moss. That's how the blues is played right there. Joe, you took us through a lot of stuff in that basic blues. I was hearing diminished changes and arpeggios, lots of different things. You can tell that even though your heart and soul is in the blues, you've had some training.
Well, yeah, it's true, but you know, there's so many great guitar players out there, and there's so many great musicians, not just guitar players. Like we had one of the horn players from Room Full of Blues sat in with us at the Narragansett Cafe last Sunday.
Oh, who was it? Was it Rich?
No, it was Doug Wolverton.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a trumpet player. He's amazing. But you know, when I listen to those guys, I listen to what they do, and I some of the stuff, you know, you hear it, and it permeates you. You know, so you're like, yeah, I want to try and do this. And I mean, Tom Ferraro, he probably wouldn't want me to say this, but yesterday we went and we got breakfast, and it was me, him, and another buddy of mine, this guy Bob McLaren. You might know Bob. Bob comes out to a lot of shows.
I might have seen him, yeah.
Yeah, but Tom is amazing at a lot of different styles of blues and Americana.
Yes, he is.
But he's really, really good at kind of like that swing jump blues style.
The T-bone thing.
Yeah, you know, like kind of where like jazz meets blues.
Yes.
You know, they're really the same thing to me. It's just, you know, but there's a different feel there. And I mean, he was showing me stuff yesterday. I mean, he was teaching me things yesterday, and he was teaching me some Charlie Christian stuff, and I was like, you know, I've dabbled in all that stuff, Charlie Christian, and like, you know, and some of the modern guys like, you know, Junior Watson and Alex Schultz and those guys.
Junior Watson's, he's incredible.
You mentioned somebody, different kind of guy, but like Anson Funderburg. I mean, I'm talking about the new guys. You know, they're not new. I mean, these guys have been around for a while, but when I was coming up, they were like in that second wave of guys that came behind Bloomfield and stuff. But like Jimmy Vaughn, obviously, he's the god of that second wave. He was the guy, and then Anson Funderburg, you know, Ronnie Earl, you know, Duke Robillard.
Yep.
But you know, Junior Watson he's like his own thing, and he took all that stuff, and you know, his filter, the way it comes out. Me and Tom were talking about this today. It's like, not to take away the seriousness and intelligence and musicality of what he's playing, but he does it with a sense of humor. It's almost like a cartoon when it's coming out, when he's playing. There's a sense of humor with his style, and it's amazing. When
you get to a certain level of virtuosity like he has achieved, I think of people like Danny Gatton.
Yeah.
Another one who could seem to play anything that popped in his mind without even a second thought, but there was always a sense of humor present in it. And you hear that in Junior too, because he just seems to be able to swing, blow through jazz things, old early style stuff, and it's just like, wow, that guy's well is so deep that there's no end. You know, it's amazing to hear people like that.
Yeah, I mean, my brother Nick, he was always into Little Charlie. And I mean, I love Little Charlie too. Little
Charlie Beatty can play.
And you know, there's just, you know, it's so like for me, when I'm to answer your question without, you know, because I'm in outer space all the time. I'll you know, get off into something else while I'm trying to talk about one thing. But every person that I hear play, if there's something that they're doing that I really like, you know, I'll jump on it. And right now, there's a guy that I've been listening to. It was actually Buddy Scott back when I first started. He said, you should listen to this guy. He said, this guy is amazing. And it was Chris Kane. And I've been listening to Chris a lot, and I've been like focusing in on kind of how he filters things. And there's a lot of jazz in his playing. And so yesterday when I was working with Tom, there's things that, you know, that he was showing, man. It's like there's, even though Chris Kane is much more modern and has the way that he's coming across, there's a lot of things that Tom does or Junior does or Charlie does or Anson, all those guys, my brother, all those guys do that's still like what Chris is doing.
Yeah.
Same notes, just the way he's handling it feel-wise or rhythmically is a little bit different, you know, and it's just like, so I learn from everybody, and I learn from different instruments.
That's great.
You know.
Tell us what the gigs come. We know tonight you're going to be in Cranston at the Pub in the Park with Tom, with the Vintage Rhythm and Blues Ensemble. What's coming up after that?
Tomorrow night, Thursday night, we're playing in Weymouth, Massachusetts. I'm with Willie J. Laws.
Oh, sure.
We're doing the Therapy Thursday jam session, and he'll sit in with us. It's going to be my band. Then Friday, we're in Springfield, Massachusetts at Theodore's.
Yep, wonderful.
And then Saturday, we're at a place that is like become my home here on the East Coast, as Katie's. I love Katie's. Katie's is in Chepachet, Rhode Island. That is an amazing place. And then I think we're going to be doing the jam session on Sunday too at Katie's.
Fantastic.
And then our tour is over. And then the guys are going to go home. I'm going to stay out here for another week because I'm writing for a new album. And then I'm going to be playing with Willie J. Laws again on Thursday in Weymouth. And then Friday night, we're at 9 Wallace. It's a special show. It's a double bill with Willie J. Laws and myself at 9 Wallace in Beverly, Massachusetts.
Good. So you've really been able to string a decent amount of gigs together to make this trip work for you.
Yeah.
Now, do you go straight back to Chicago from New England, or are you going to go through some other states on the way?
Not always. Sometimes. This time, the guys are going to be going straight back, and I'll be flying home after the gigs with Willie. But normally, we'll pick up something sometimes in Pennsylvania or Ohio or whatever, and so I'm not deadheading all the way back. But the last couple times, I think we have deadheaded all the way back.
What's the website that people can find out about Joe Moss at?
It's joemossband.com. We're also on Facebook and on Instagram. And I think if you just go to Joe Moss or Joe Moss Band, you'll find us on Facebook real easy.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Find them, my friends. This is the real blues. These are the guys that are out there touring the country, bringing the blues to your town. We're going to play a little bit more before we wrap things up, so we'll be right back with you. Stick around for Guitar Talk.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is possible with the support of my community. Join the Voices for Recovery. Visible, vocal, valuable.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.